So we will observe a minute of silence, because this is what life does. You are not in control. You don't know when. Yeah? You don't know when. Your job is to do and take action when the window is what? Is opened. Because you don't know what God has got in plan or in store for you or for me. So our job is to do. Is to be obedient and do. So we will observe a minute of silence while we play that song, Mr. Martin. Maybe all just stand to observe that minute. Thank you.
For me, guys, it's really important for young people to want to gather in a place where you can network, because we have so many ideas. We live in a generation where I think majority of us are really business-minded. Yeah. Whether it's Instagram, you're aspiring to succeed, or whether it's YouTube, we have so many platforms to be business-minded. We just don't know how to go about it. So platforms like this, it really disappoints me when I don't see any young people. Yeah. Where are you guys at though? It's true. And if you want to pursue something in business, or you want to do something community-based and you don't know how to go about that, this is the place to be. This is the place to get information. This is the place to get funding. This is the place to network. So why not?
One thing I absolutely love about what Dream Bases do is that no story, no dream is too big. Come here with any idea you have.
Right.
As long as you have a passion for it and you're in alignment. I love what Funga was telling us, is that you need to be in alignment with the words, so that God can direct you in the right place.
Right.
If you know what you want to do in life, why are you hiding? Why are you stopping yourself? Come and find like-minded people just like yourself and network and get yourself out there. It really starts with yourself.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And some of these people here have the smallest idea. It's art that they like doing, or it's music. They don't know what they want to do about it. They don't even know if they want to be the spotlight. But they know that that's their passion and they want to do a business. Come here with that simple idea. Stop trying to think grand. Stop trying to be it. Because everyone starts small.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and if you're afraid to come alone, come with your friends, come with your family. As you've seen, people have come with support because they may not have the confidence to come alone. Come with people. Don't come alone, and you will definitely get a lot of support here anyways.
100%. And guys, I don't want you to ever be put off by thinking that someone else has already done that idea. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. If you've got a passion for it, come on in, guys. Honestly, because the more you learn, the more you look up to the people that already are doing these things, you can be just like them, or even better.
Even better.
Don't limit yourself.
That's it. Yeah, it's true. Many people look at us and go, girls, how did you start? Most of you know we started with the phone in our bedroom, literally just taking videos like any normal girl would. And, we branched out because the bigger you want to be, the bigger you need to move.
Exactly.
Yeah, so God has a plan. And He has a purpose. And that plan is to prosper you. That plan is that you achieve what He has purposed you to achieve. His plan is you do what He has purposed you to do. Because we don't know when the window closes. And so I want to touch base and come back to our story, based on the story of Noah. And we have said we are separated for greatness. But I want to remind you something today. And maybe if I'm not reminding, I want to let you know. The future determines the past. The future determines the past. Why do I say so? Because history is not a random path that is just cut through a countryside where we think it is just happening and it's coincidence, because it's not. Why do I say so? Because the Word of God tells us that God appoints the goal before the foundation of the world. So before we are all here, God has already planned it. He's already aligned it, and He's already know the end from the beginning. Right? He already makes the plan. He already plans the future. He already has set your future, and He's already had all this planned and designed before you were in your mother's womb. So the future determines the past. That's how I look at it. But what is my job? What is our role to play, me and you? Our role to play is that we align with that plan. Why do I say that? Is because God gives us what we call the willpower. He does not force us into situations. While He has created this beautiful picture, He does not force us into it. He gives us the choice to choose. And so our job is to choose. Do we choose the easy road? Do we choose the hard road? And the choice is ours. You know? And what comfort do we have? We have the comfort of knowing that He has that picture and it's already planned. So why do we worry? Why do we fear? Why do we procrastinate? Why do we hold on to the negative things that have happened to us if we are convinced that history is already written? There is nothing new under the sun. But we get stuck up with the now. So, for me, lesson number 1, I'm going to be calling people to the front. Noah's story teaches us that we can never go wrong when we listen to God's calling or Him when He speaks to us. When we hear His voice, when we hear that voice, when we have that dream, when we have that desire, when I have that thing nagging to say, you must do this, you must do this, we need the assurance that God doesn't make mistakes. And so that desire you have, it's not a mistake. He is nudging you and reminding you that I have an assignment for you every day, that He has an assignment for you. But He is not going to force you. He's not going to arm twist you into doing this. But when the window and the time comes, He takes you. He does not wait. Noah's story teaches us that in a chaotic situation, during a time when God had had enough with humankind, He was looking for individuals who were ready. I don't think Noah was sinless. I don't think he was a perfect man. I would want to think that he had his own challenges. He was a married man. He had a family. He had sons. He had also experienced teenagers. He had also experienced the wickedness that was going on during this time. He was just like you and me today, where we have Brexit, we have coronavirus, we have dysfunctional economy, we have some of us become from Africa and we struggle daily to send money to look after people. And probably you and me, we are in the exact situation as Noah. Yet He chooses him to rescue humankind. I would like to think Noah had a quality that maybe some of us might not have had. Probably he had the faith. The Bible says at the end of it, we find Noah's name in the Hall of Fame of the people who are counted as faithful. Right? There is a scripture where we read about Noah, that he is counted amongst the Hall of Fame of people who had the faith. Do you understand that? We are not told he is accounted among the people who had money. So it's not about the money. Joseph is not counted among the people who had money, yet Joseph became a PM in his time, in a foreign land. Joseph would have been like you and me, in a foreign land where he is the ethnic minority. Yet he is the man with the keys to be a decision maker in making decisions. In a time like this, it was a time of famine, and he rescues the whole generation. So the Bible informs the future. It informs us today. Those Bible stories are written so they can inform us today. So me and you, we have a responsibility that we write our stories that they may inform the next generation. Next woman needs to hear that they can be strengthened. The next man needs to hear that they can be strengthened. How do they get strengthened when we are not being honest and writing our stories? When we are just painting beautiful pictures of success on social media and not telling the truth of the stories of what we go through to be who we are. Somebody said, I was listening to someone who says, the humankind nowadays, they want to look like success, but they don't want to walk the success road. But it is the walk of success that makes us successful. And that walk is harsh. It's cold. It's difficult. It's challenging. It's lonely. But that's the walk that God has appointed us for such a time like this, for us to walk it. And it is not for us to decide when, because God is saying now. It's an emergency. It's immediate. Because you have heard and heard this word. Lest you forget that you don't control the time. You don't control the wind. The day is now, and that day is today. And so, how should we respond? We should listen keenly to his message, to what he's saying today. And we should leave this room having taken action. We should leave this room having taken action, having decided that, you know what, I am done with this. Refusing to take action. I am done with feeling like this. I am done with, and I am moving forward. I am not settling for less. I am not settling for where I am now. I am not settling. I'm choosing to go. I am choosing to do what I have been called to do. And only you in your heart, you know what that project is. You know what that thing is. You know what that is. Right? As I've just mentioned, that our stories, they matter. There is nothing to hide. We need to hear it all. Because as you say it all, as you share it all, it bears so much force that it changes the next person, the next woman. Just like we heard Priska's story yesterday. Another woman needs to hear that. Right? Another woman needs to hear that. Just like we heard Mom's testimony yesterday. To say, after losing my husband and the kids leaving the nest, I feel like I have to start again and do something. Because I've just lost all my life thinking that. And I packed my dreams and put them on the side. We have to take action. And then, when we have taken that action, guys, we have to keep the course. That one is when you are in your own house, we are not all there, and you feel so shattered and so down because things are just not moving. Somebody was asking me, Pongai, after you've had all those losses and all those dips and all those things, is because I am surrounded by people whom, when I am going through a very difficult time, I pick up the phone. And these people must be the right people. Your pastor is not your business advisor. Your business advisor must be someone who understands business. So you need to define your relationships correctly and have the right advisors for the right topics. We should listen. we should take action and we should keep the course. Throwing in the towel, the world doesn't care. You and me, we are just statistics. So if you throw in the towel, nobody is going to care anymore. But your generation, your children will miss out because of you throwing in the towel. Imagine. Your children, your nieces, your nephews, they all look up to us. And it's our duty. I was at an airport and I got stuck when I was going to Africa, South Africa, Oliver Tambo. And I spent the whole day with my niece and my nephew looking to catch another flight, to get another flight. And I say to my nephew, you see, this is my baby. You will need to own a jet. So that auntie doesn't have to be stuck at an airport. And so he believed it. Can you see? Auntie has got no reason. We won't need an airport. He says, where will the plane land? I said, at your dad's house. You know, on top, we can just have a helipad there. That's our job. To ignite dreams, to see possibilities, and to make what we have come to pass. So thank you so much, guys, for attending the retreat. I spoke earlier about the power of our stories. And I am going to emphasize this, guys, because why do we want to be reading other people's books and other people's literature when we have our own stories that our children can relate to? And so, over to you, Monica. And then you just talk to us and be as raw as it comes. Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you as well for just this time to talk to you about what's been happening in my story, in my journey. I think from the day that we came here, I think it was on Friday, the message has been about your story. Write your story. Talk about yourself. I'm going to be vulnerable for a moment because for a long time, I've lived in isolation, even though I've lived around people. You know, we are amongst people and we talk to people, we laugh with people, we make the right gestures, we make the right sounds, we make the right noises. You know, we tick all the boxes for the right reasons. But we are so alone inside because nobody knows what you're going through behind closed doors. I would go to church. I'm a pastor, by the way. I go to church, I preach. I see people who are going through a lot of situations in their lives. Some of those situations, they are so small. And you see people crumbling and I'm thinking, I'm going through worse. But who can I tell? Who can I tell what I'm going through? Because the moment I start talking, they're going to stigmatize me. They're going to judge me. They're going to say all sorts of things about me. They're going to brand me. And that's the falling of the ministry. But the ministry is about broken people. The ministry is about wounded people. And so many times we go to church, we go in wounded, we come out more broken. Why? Because the people that are ministering to us are already broken and they are afraid of the people they are ministering to because they know those people need help, but they will not know that they too also need help. We live in a society that marginalizes us. And because of that, we become afraid, even as we are strong at the pulpit. We are so afraid in our private domain.
Can I share something? I went through a miscarriage. And when I did that, and when that happened, I felt lonely, and it is a dark place. It is a dark place that I never knew existed. But I want to connect it with what you're saying. And so, when my pastor's wife visited me, she told me, Fungai, you are the first person I'm telling this, that I also went through a miscarriage. And I was at a conference and I was on stage. And I stayed on that stage. I was strong. And I went to my room and I cleaned myself up and I came back on the stage.
Yes, exactly.
And I don't know how many years later, she is opening up to me because I opened up to her. She had visited me because I could not see the light. And these are the issues as women we don't talk about. And so when we see each other struggling, we don't know what the next person is going through. People are asking you, when are you having a baby?
Exactly.
Huh? Why are you still waiting?
Exactly.
Yet I'm going through a miscarriage. But I can't tell you because I'm a pastor's wife.
And you fall. And
So
you
I
fall.
can relate to that.
The moment I tell you what I'm going through, you will fall. You will not believe in God. Because I'm the reason who's driving you to God. I'm the person who's standing there showing you the way to God. So the moment you see me falling apart, you can't stand. And that's the problem. So many people are following man. They're following people. They're not following God. There's a problem already. I'm only a signpost. And understand that a signpost can also be moved by wind. And can signpost you the wrong way because it's also broken.
Hey! So what did you do?
What actually happened is a couple of years ago, there's a friend of mine who lives in Peterborough. He spoke to me about Dream Blazers. And then he says, you want to see these people? You want to see these people? And I said, what is it about? He goes, you're in ministry. They'll help you. They'll talk to you about these things. And I said, listen, I've been on a journey as a minister for the last, I had started the ministry 5 years back at the time. And the struggle was real. Because everything that made the ministry stand was coming from my salary. And a few people who would also put in a £10 here, £20 here. And then I had some women who came who just said, listen, if you're going to pay half, I'll pay half. If you're going to pay a quarter, I'll pay a quarter. I'm going to match you. And I'm thinking God has answered. But still we are limited because now they were taking from something that was unplanned. And when he says about Dream Blaze, I said, listen, I don't know. I don't want to start a new scheme. I don't want to start this. And then I brushed it off. 2 years later, one of my daughters in Christ, she rang me at 10 at night and says, you know what, Mom? You know what, Mom? I said, oh, she says, I found a breakthrough. I said, what breakthrough? She said, I've heard about Dream Blazers. I said, oh, I know of them. She goes, what do you know of them? I started telling them about you. I started telling her about Dream Blazers. And I said, listen, they do this, and they do this. Then she goes, you have to go. She says, I'll put down the first 200 for you to go. You are going. It was on a Thursday. I believe it was on a Thursday night. And on the Saturday, we were in Wolverhampton with Mr. Mwati and Joe. But what actually happened was, I was going to work that Saturday. Then I spoke to Mr. Mwati for a bit, and I said, listen, I'm working on Saturday. He goes, you know what, if going to work is making it work, go. Go to work. If it's making it work, go. But I would advise that you come. And I said, listen, I start work at 10. I could push it to 1 if I can come in early. He says, we'll be there for you. What time do you want to come? They created a slot for me. When God is moving in your life, there are doors that just open even if they shouldn't open. They have been closed for so long and they just have to open. And even if you don't want to move, you are pushed into that space. And God was pushing me in the space. I had an excuse like Moses. He says, I stutter. I'm a stammerer. God says, it's okay. It's all right. You can stammer. That's all fine. But I'm sending you to Egypt. And he says, we'll be there for you at whatever time. I says, okay, 8:30. Hoping you'd say, oh, that's too early. And he says, we'll be there. Even if you wanted to be 6, I said, no, 8:30 is fine. It meant I had to stay in Wolverhampton that night. I live in Birmingham. But because I have a little boy who's 7, I had to leave him with my cousin. So anyway, I get to Dream Blazers. We have a talk and they start talking to me about the beginning. And we were very on the surface. Oh, the beginning is God. And we like the God space, but we don't realize that God's space is in me. God is in me. If God is in me, that's the space he's occupying. That's the God space. And he says to me, start with you. And I said, nah, I can't tell you. And by the end of the conversation, I was in tears. And so was he. Because I started talking about my story to somebody who wouldn't judge me. He wasn't going to placed me on the next news headline. Say we got a young pastor who's been going through A, B, C, D. And the other thing I liked about Mr. Mwati, he didn't ask me about my husband. Where's your husband? The moment I start preaching, the next thing the person asks me is, oh, by the way, where's your husband? Is he the one who was preaching? Is he the one who got the message to stand? Or was it me? We're going through so many things. But in the space of 2 hours that I spent with Mr. Mwati and Joe, I broke through. I broke through to the point where I left away. I was going to start writing. This is the journey that we've been on since December. This thing was done in December. We wrote this book based on the book of Exodus. And the only thing I can say is we are not lost ourselves. We're not lost because we found ourselves in the wrong place. We are in a wrong place, and what we need to know is we need to come out of a wrong place. We've got information, but it's false information. We need the right information to walk in light. He told me that darkness and light coexist to bring out solutions. We exist in darkness, but we are the light that comes out of that darkness. We started talking about my life as a child. I realized things that I didn't want to talk about. I got to a point where I had to talk to my dad. I had left this whole thing in the past. I didn't want the people around me to know about it. But it became my healing process. I started my journey of healing through writing my story. Where I was born. Who are my ancestors? What were they about? I realized why I am who I am. Because there is a seed that was planted in my great-grandfather. That's passed on to my grandfather. That's passed on to my father. That's now passed on to me. There is a history that has repeated itself, and people have not known when to stop and draw a line and say we are drawing a bloodline here.
But you are a pastor.
I'm a pastor. Problems don't need a title. They're not even afraid of your title. They're not afraid of who you are. But solutions are inside you when problems come. The Bible even says God will not give you temptations that are beyond you. Every temptation that's your way is your stepping stone to success. You are like an eagle that must ride that must glide in the storm. You rise up and you glide in the storm. Right now I'm gliding because for years I've tried to write books and I've left them. They were meaningless. They were too painful. They would break me down. But then I was like, no, I don't want to tell anybody. Our major problem, we don't want the other person to know because we are afraid of the stigma. But the stigma is where the power is. The stigma is where the money is. The stigma is where the freedom is. The stigma is where the peace is. That's where the hope is. That's where the faith is, because you can stand up in that stigma and say, I am separated for greatness.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We can say better than that. We can say better than that. Your job is to work and heal the people. But your founder is God. Absolutely. Who has appointed the government. It is that simple. When you understand that concept, guys, that's why I believe we are going to never have to work a single day in our lives when we understand the power of who we are and what we have.
You know, the amazing thing is after that, after the 6th of December, when I first met with Dream Blazers, I went and I put in my notice at work and I left my job on the 23rd of December. I'll tell you something, it's been a journey of strength. You go through the motions of the day and you're writing a book about yourself and you're writing about experiences and you're writing about what we need to do, the challenges and the barriers and our aims and our purpose. This book is written existence at the front because this is only a tester, or should I say what do you call them? A trailer or something. Something that somebody can read through and understand the concept behind it and understand. So there is a writing skill in it that we've been learning, and it's a writing skill that we are also going to be teaching. Because that writing skill is important for your healing. It's also important for the people you want to reach out to. So your own project is in who you are.
So thank you so much, Pastor.